Hey guys, Joseline's Cabaret, California, episode 13, review slash recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. So this episode starts with Jocelyn going to visit one of the strip clubs that she's considering to have Jocelyn's Cabaret at. Because remember, Lemmy came to her with the idea saying that he's willing to basically invest in making Jocelyn's Cabaret a real life strip club or cabaret that would be in one place year round rather than her touring and running all over the place. I'm sure she'll still do the tour, but they would also like to have something steady. So Jocelyn did like this first place that she went to, but she basically said she wasn't sold and she was still open to other options. So we see Neek and Egypt come into this room where Ricardo is, and they're basically like, hey, we want to come back. And Ricardo told them, they do work hard, they are good dancers, but he feel like they both get caught up in their feelings too much. So Neek just kept talking about, she just be wanting to defend herself. She don't be trying to be disrespectful. And Ricardo basically explained to her, we all get that. But at the end of the day, sometimes you don't need to explain or defend yourself because the only person opinion that really matters is Jocelyn's. When it came to Egypt, she was basically saying she just wants to figure out what happened between her and Jocelyn. She doesn't understand where things went wrong. And she feels like she belongs in a cabaret. I personally feel like Egypt doesn't belong at this point. She just gets on my nerve and I'm over her. But that was the end of the scene. Neek and Egypt walked out talking about, oh, the girls going gagged. They thought we was going this, that, and the third. So the girls are back in rehearsal with Ricardo. Kaniyah says she wants to learn all new material because she wants to be included in even more parts in the next show. And Ricardo said he's still trying to figure out whether or not it's cool for Egypt and Neek to be around. He basically needs to ask Jocelyn or find out from Jocelyn when she gets here. And he said what we've all been saying, that little dance room that they had at the house was cute or whatever. But how are the girls supposed to know if they're all moving synchronized like they're supposed to be, at the same tempo at the same time if they don't have a mirror? So he said, I love the house, but I needed us to get to a room with mirrors. And finally they are. So as the girls are practicing, Ricardo is kind of calling G Baby and Sky out for some mistakes that they're making. And Sky is in her confessional talking about, yeah, I feel pretty confident. I feel like I'm learning the dances. I got this. Girl, you getting called out. Pay attention. Then we see Des and Kaniyah starting to argue, and Kaniyah is telling Des, don't touch me. So Des felt like Kaniyah was in her spot, but according to G Baby, Kaniyah was in the right place. So Ricardo said he's going to take a break and eat. So he told the girls y'all could take a break as well. Do whatever y'all need to do. If y'all just want to sit here and talk, sit here and talk. If y'all want to eat, eat. This y'all break time. So when they sat down, all of the girls basically started talking. Ocean said, our first show went better than I thought it would. And she basically said she was proud of the new girls and she could see them being an asset to the cabaret. And Jane Doe was basically saying, yeah, I do like the little flow that we got going on now. Andrea was like, yes, that's the cabaret sisterhood we're looking for. And then Erica goes, yeah, because not every bitch is able to have cabaret sisterhood. And Kaniyah started laughing because she felt like it was a joke and they just be saying shit. So then Erica was like, why was you laughing when we was talking about cabaret sisterhood? And Des said she ain't no cabaret sister. And Erica was like, no, but I still want to know why she was laughing. And Kaniyah basically said, I feel like y'all got a problem with me. Y'all always taking shots at me. Y'all always throwing subliminal shots at me. And she basically was saying Erica and Des do that to her even off camera. And she was like, I fought other people in the house like Danny and Andrea. They don't even do shit like that to me off camera. But y'all do. Des was basically saying from what she's been hearing, her name is always in Kaniyah's mouth when she's not around. But then when they all around, Kaniyah be real quiet. Do I think that's possible? Yes, because I do think Kaniyah be talking about people, but then she don't be remembering what she be saying sometimes, or she don't be really saying what she said. I don't know. It be confusing sometimes with her. And I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if she don't be remembering, if she be backtracking, but I do feel like she be talking about people. So I'm not going to deny that that's possible. But then Des started doing too much. She started getting so mad. She threw her water bottle to the ground and she was like, I can't keep doing this. Y'all could keep having these conversations. So she walked out to the locker room and she was saying how she was real frustrated. Kaniyah kept popping her head and being disrespectful. So she needed to just take a moment. Eventually, Des came back into the room. So when Des came back, at that point, Kaniyah and Erica was going back and forth. Des decided to insert herself in their argument and said she ain't like the way Kaniyah was talking to Erica. So then they start going back and forth again, and they end up basically trying to swing on each other. But they really wasn't able to get to each other. So then Erica started hitting Kaniyah, and they started fighting. And then, of course, once she was able to, Des came and jumped in. So Jane Doe and Lexi was trying to break it up. So once they broke the fight up, Kaniyah was visibly upset and she realized that her face was scratched. So she was saying that they did that on purpose. They jealous of her, basically, this, that, and the third. Lexi was basically telling her, it's a little scratch. You could put some Vaseline on it and it's going to be all right. So then Kaniyah says, you're an old ass loser. I had to look up how old Des was. She's the same age as Joseline, 38. So I guess Kaniyah's somewhere in her 20s. So that's why she called her an old ass loser. And then she said, your kids should hate you, bitch. Now, I don't think kids should be mentioned at all. I don't think it should have been said. So Des tried to pick a chair up, tried to throw the chair at Kaniyah. Ricardo came in and he's like, what the fuck happened? I was gone for 20 minutes. Like, what went wrong? And Lexi basically told him they tried to jump Kaniyah. Then Kaniyah turns on Lexi and she's like, no, bitch, you let them jump me. Fuck all of y'all. And Lexi like, hold on, bitch. I broke up the fight. I just picked you up off the ground. And you mad at me? So then Kaniyah ran out into the hallway. She was trying to get to Des and she was like, bitch, I'ma fuck you up. Des was laughing. She was like, ha ha, sticking up her middle finger. And Erica was like, oh, why you so mad, Kaniyah? Why you so mad, Kaniyah? So they taunting her. And Andrea is telling Des, Kaniyah was dead wrong for mentioning your kid. But I do get where Kaniyah was coming from. Like I said, I don't think she should have said it. But at the end of the day, like she said, you don't know if that scratch going to heal. And that's what she was thinking about at that moment. So I'm sure she was just saying anything that came to mind. So they got back in the room. Des was telling Ricardo Kaniyah had getting too big. And Ricardo was like, what am I going to tell Joseline about Kaniyah's face? She scratched up like Freddy Krueger. And then he basically told the girls if they needed another break, everybody needed to woosah and calm down, then they need to go do it. Because when Joseline comes in here, it's time to get back to work. So while they're all taking a break, T, Love, Scott, and Danny go in a room and they start talking about everything that just happened. So all three of them was basically saying they really didn't know what happened because by the time they came back in the room, everything was over. So then Lexi came in and they was asking her what was going on. And she was saying she was mad because of how Kaniyah had came at her. She said that pissed her off because she did break it up. And she also said something to Des and Erica like, yeah, I get y'all together, but y'all don't got to jump somebody every time one of y'all is fighting. And then Danny sounding stupid as hell in her confessional. She talking about, oh, I haven't seen Des and Erica's fights, but I hear they out here jumping people like they run shit. I find it pathetic and I find it the pot calling the kettle black. Yeah, jumping people just like you and Andrea be doing. Yet you find it weak and disgusting when they do it. So then we see Joseline visiting another strip club that she's considering to make Joseline's Cabaret strip club. LJ is here, so I guess he's introducing Joseline to this guy and this club. She said she definitely was liking this place a lot better. Everything looked brand new, bigger, better than the first place. The first place was a nice, cozy strip club, but this is like a brand new, really clean, fresh kind of strip club. So from there, we get to G-Baby checking on Kaniyah, and eventually Sky comes too. And again, I'm just like, Sky, why do you keep talking to Kaniyah like you didn't try to jump her? I don't know if Kaniyah's not aware of that or what. Like, Sky's weird as fuck. And if Kaniyah does know that Sky tried to jump her, she needs to address it. Bitch, why are you in my face talking to me? And Sky and G-Baby did tell Kaniyah as witnesses, Lexi did step in to stop the fight, and she also did check Des and Erica after. So once G-Baby and Sky told Kaniyah that, she did end up saying, she knows she does owe Lexi an apology. She was wrong for snapping on Lexi and telling Lexi F her because she did try to help. So G-Baby told Kaniyah, you gonna have to run that with Des again because you mentioned her kid. Kaniyah started low-key backtracking like I told y'all she do. And she was like, oh, I didn't even talk about her kid, which is what she said when Joseline asked her about it later. And then to G-Baby and Sky, she just was like, people be so mad when you mention them being a mom because they just not good moms. But what you said was you an old ass loser and your son should hate you. So I don't know. Then she said that Des' child is 18, so that's embarrassing. People who are 18 watch this show, so she's sure that Des' child is embarrassed. She on here kissing Erica, hunching, fucking, fighting, etc. And Sky said in her confessional she don't know how Kaniyah could speak on Des' mothering skills when she's not a mother herself. But Sky is fake because I don't understand why you sitting in Kaniyah's face talking to her at all after you tried to jump her like I said. So G-Baby and Sky was asking Kaniyah, is she done or do she need that again? She said she definitely need that again because they jumped her and they said, okay, so are you going to wait till we go back to the house or is it going to be a whenever, whatever type of thing? And she said, whatever, whenever, however, she needs that. So they said, okay, well, it's time to go back to practice. Kaniyah said, thanks for checking on me, but I still need a minute. So they ended up walking out and they left her in the room by herself. I guess she needed a minute to get herself together before she go back into practice. But technically on site would be as soon as you walk back into practice. So I don't know if she doesn't know what the definition of on-site is or what. Especially if you're talking about whenever, whatever, however, like. So next it cuts to Egypt and Neek coming into the dance studio with all of the other girls. Of course, the girls were excited to see them. They kept saying they wanted Neek to come back. And of course, T-Love wanted Egypt to come back. So Neek and Egypt was asking what they missed. T Love gonna say, oh, Des and Erica fought Kaniyah today. And Ricardo was like, no, tell the truth. They jumped Kaniyah. And Andrea gonna say they did, but, and then don't give no explanation, as if there is any real explanation for what they did. And Egypt, weak ass, gonna say, oh, it don't matter. It don't matter that they jumped her. What happened? But you so mad that Chink said you and T Love jumped her in the bushes, which y'all did. But right now you condoning jumping anyway. So stop acting like you against jumping. Then Des gonna say, oh yeah, Kaniyah wasn't listening to Ricardo. She was trying to act like us. Girl, please. Jocelyn said you can't even dance, Des. So I don't know. From there, we got Chinks meeting up with Jocelyn outside of the dance studio. And when Chinks walked up, Jocelyn was like, yes, it's Chinks, the most hated but never duplicated. All these girls are against Chinks. And like I said, they definitely made her a main character of this season. So, of course, Chinks wanted to know why she wasn't allowed to perform in the San Diego show. And Jocelyn basically was saying, I don't know if I can trust you to perform with the Cabaret. I don't want any fights happening, this, that, and third. Chinks says she could control herself. She know how to work. And she knows it's a time and place for everything. And Jocelyn so fake. She in Chink's face talking about, I like you a lot. But in her confessional, she going to say, I just don't believe nothing Chinks is saying. And when you look at Chink, she look like a cat. And you can't trust the cat. Anywho, Jocelyn gets out the car. So her and Chink start to walk into the dance studio together. But they're still talking. And Jocelyn was kind of asking Chinks why she feel like everybody's against her. And Chinks said, none of the girls really took the time to get to know me. I don't even know why half of them have a problem. It's like they all bandwagoning off of each other's issues. And Jocelyn was like, but it all basically started because you had beef with Lexi, right? And Chinks basically said, yeah, I guess they took Lexi's side because they got to be friends with her before they knew me. But I also feel like a part of it is jealousy, kind of like how at the beginning of Baddies Going Wild, Shay was mad at all the online pics. And she was saying she wanted to fight all the online pics because she went through way more to get on this show than they did. Similar to how the girls was mad at Hennessy and Rose on the last season of Jocelyn's Cabaret. Chinks never auditioned for Jocelyn's Cabaret. She said that Jocelyn came to the club that she was working at. Jocelyn came and started talking to her and asked her, did she want to be on her show? And that was it. So she never auditioned or showed that she could do choreography like the rest of these girls, and she was still chosen, which could create some jealousy in these girls because we see they get jealous and triggered over anything. Just like I told y'all, they could be jealous and triggered by the fact that Chinks got her own room and be staying at hotels while they be sharing rooms. So when Chinks and Jocelyn finally walk into the rehearsal, of course the ladies are happy to see Jocelyn. And Oceans was like, I don't know why she's here. I thought we got rid of her a couple days ago. Like, yeah, T-Love and you really thought that y'all was doing eliminations. Please. So Jocelyn immediately asked Egypt and Neek, what are they doing here? She wasn't happy to see them. But Ricardo did kind of step in and say, you know, they showed up and they came in better spirits. They said they got a new attitude. So I just wanted to see if it was okay for them to be around. So I let them stay. So, of course, Jocelyn starts with Neek, and she basically said she feel like Neek tries to overshadow her sometimes, and also some of the other girls in the cabaret, and she feel like she gave so much love to Neek just for Neek to play her, whatever that means. And this time, Neek just let Jocelyn talk. You know, Jocelyn was like, you know you be with the bullshit, right? And Neek was like, mm-hmm. And in her confessional, she was like, yeah, I'm going to just agree with her because I don't got time for the bullshit. Like, yeah, that's exactly what you need to do. Let her talk her shit and let it roll off your back. That's what Ricardo been telling you to do. Because honestly, Jocelyn just be talking and she's about to prove that in a couple minutes. Don't forget on the last episode review, she told Neek that Kaniyah dances better than her, even though she didn't know Kaniyah's name. Kaniyah's name was Kiara to Jocelyn. But for now, Jocelyn moves on to Egypt. She starts by telling Egypt she's a big ass bitch. She's huge. And all the beauty that she once saw in Egypt is gone because now all she sees is an ogre and Shrek when she sees Egypt. And Jocelyn was asking Egypt if she said she wanted to fight her the other day. Egypt said no, but she definitely was acting like she wanted to fight. She got escorted out of the room by security, and then she kept trying to walk back and was going back and forth with Aunt talking about, I done beat bitches up for less. Why the fuck did she play with me like that? And Aunt had to hold her back so she couldn't get in the room. So what else was you trying to do? And Jocelyn said that Egypt hits too hard. She saw Egypt fight Chinks. She thought Chinks was going to have to go to the hospital for a week. And she said at this point, she don't know if the cabaret is the place for Egypt. Maybe Egypt needs to go to UFC. Then Jocelyn asked Kaniyah what happened to her face. Nobody was saying nothing. So Sky was like, she got jumped. And then Ricardo basically was like, yeah, the girlfriends jumped her today. So Jocelyn was like, who are the girlfriends? Des raised her hand and basically said, me and Erica. From there, Jocelyn started questioning Kaniyah about something that happened between her and Ricardo off camera. She basically said that Ricardo asked Kaniyah to get down on the floor to do one of the dances. And Kaniyah was like, nah, I don't do that. Basically saying, I don't get on the floor. So Kaniyah was like, I didn't say it like that. And Ricardo was like, you did give me, some pushback. And at the end of the day, a no is a no. And Des was like, basically, this is what they talking about. Kaniyah feel like she better than everybody. I'm the cleanest one here. I shouldn't have to get on the floor, this, that, and the third. So Kaniyah tried explaining herself and basically said the reason that she told Ricardo no was because he wanted her to switch to a different position last minute, and she felt like that was going to be hard for her. It's hard for her to make those type of changes last minute. Something like that. And Jocelyn was like, well, that's not what Ricardo told me this morning when we went hiking. So then Kaniyah was like, that's what these girls try to say about me. Basically saying the girls are annoying and they always trying to twist her words and stuff like that. And it's just like, Kaniyah, everybody can't be wrong about you. Ricardo's wrong about you too. You didn't get crazy with him. Like I told y'all, I don't dislike her, but I don't favor her either. She does backtrack a lot. She do talk too much. Like, she's almost like Neek. She's just not completely out of her shell yet because she's not as comfortable in the cabaret. But I see her becoming just like Neek, and then we'll have the same issue with her that Jocelyn and Ricardo have with Neek right now, with Kaniyah next season. So Jocelyn was like, okay, so Kaniyah thinks she could pick which dances she's going to do. Okay, so that's what we working with her. And Des was like, yeah, and she also repeats back everything you say. So Des brought up what Kaniyah said about her kid and, you know, how her kid should hate her, basically insinuating that Kaniyah must have got that from Jocelyn. So Jocelyn was like, hold on. Des is a great mother. And Ricardo didn't catch that part. So he looked at Kaniyah and he was like, wait, we talking about people kids? And Kaniyah was like, no. So it's like, if she's not going to stand on what she said or be willing to thoroughly explain it every time somebody asks, she should have never said it. So Jocelyn was telling Kaniyah, if you said that, that's effed up. And Kaniyah said in her confessional, she don't like how these girls pick and provoke her. And then as soon as she do something, they run and tell mommy. So from there, Jocelyn counted the girls. She has 14 girls left. She said she needs to eliminate 2 girls to get down to 12. And she told Ricardo that she wanted them to go in the back and have a private conversation. T Love was in her confessional basically saying now that Egypt and Neek are back, she feels like all the girls who aren't really doing what they need to do can go. You know, she said Chinks comes and goes as she pleases, so she can go. She's lazy. And then she said G-Baby can go too because G-Baby is injured. So Jocelyn and Ricardo were going back and forth, and he was basically saying to keep people that I guess she didn't want to keep. And she was like, oh, you always want to be Captain Saberho. And he said, no, I'm thinking about your performance. I'm telling you who the best dancers are. All those other conversations and all that other drama and bullshit that you got, that's how you feel about them. You asked for my opinion, and my opinion is only going to be about the performance. So then Jocelyn asked Ballistic who he would get rid of, and he said Sky and Jane Doe. Okay, so Jocelyn and Ricardo come back in the room, and of course, they're taking their time building up the suspense to say who's going to be going home. Oceans is in her confessional basically saying she hasn't been winning many challenges lately, so she's not as confident as she was towards the beginning of the season, and she's wondering if she's up for grabs right now. So here goes Jocelyn talking about, before we decide who we're going to send home, I want to see Kaniyah, and Neek battle it out. Like, girl, you still don't even know her name. So they did the battle, and what I would say is Kaniyah reminded me a lot of Big Lex from Jocelyn's Cabaret, which was that she could dance, but she just danced hard to me. And I don't know how else to explain it, but to say she danced too hard. Like Kaniyah give me step show, majorette, like hard motions, hard movements. I don't know how to describe it. Neek just gives me a more sensual, sexy kind of dancer. And that's exactly what Jocelyn ended up saying in her confessional. So Neek basically won the battle, even though they both can dance. So I say all of that to say Jocelyn was lying and simply trying to get under Neek's skin on the last episode when she told her Kaniyah dances better than you. Because clearly, when it comes to the cabaret, you don't feel like she dances better than Neek. And the battle just proved that. So the battle is over. All of the girls are chanting Neek's name, and Jocelyn is looking crazy. Sky said in her confessional, you know, they both did good, but Neek gives more of a show. And Jocelyn said in her confessional, if Neek had a better attitude, she would be number 1 in her book. From there, Jocelyn turns to Danny and she's like, can I ask you something? Danny says, yeah. And Jocelyn is like, why do you always try to be so cool with the new girls instead of staying down with the girls who are supposed to be your cabaret sisters and who you've been to 50 plus cities with and been on tour with? And Danny basically said, they've said and done things that have excluded me and made me feel like I'm not a part of their crew. And Ricardo was like, yeah, I have to agree with her because I heard them say they don't fuck with Danny. So Oceans was like, Danny could say what she want to say, but at the end of the day, she know we have love for her because when she got into it with Kaniyah, who did she send the Amber Alert to? She sent it to me. And Ocean's going to say in her confessional, we don't isolate Dirty Dan. Like, you literally calling her Dirty Dan. And it's like, Ocean, you don't give clean either, no shade. So you shouldn't be the one calling her that. But yeah, I'm definitely team Danny when it comes to the her versus Ocean's argument. I feel like Danny has definitely been one of the most reasonable people this season. Right now, I think number 1 for me is Chinks. Number 2 is Lexi. Number 3 is Kaniyah. And number 4 is Danny. Everybody else is a chop. So then we get a confessional from Jane Doe, and she basically said it could be any one of us going home, and my heart is in my ass. And she definitely was foreshadowing her exit. Jocelyn did decide to eliminate Jane Doe. I'm really not surprised. I don't think she brought too much to the show. You know, she definitely was trying to dance, but she just didn't really stand out or bring much to the show. But I did see that she was on a couple of the tour dates that they were doing, like a couple weeks ago. So Jane Doe was sad. She was crying. Jocelyn told her the cabaret tour is always open for her. And like I said, she did end up going to a couple of the dates. Lexi said that she felt like Jane Doe was very passionate about the cabaret, so she was sad to see her go. All of the girls gave Jane Doe a group hug, and that was pretty much that. But Jane Doe definitely threw me off in her confessional, her outro, where she said the person she would miss the most is Andrea, and she know it sound toxic, but they had some good times. Like, was y'all bumping coochies and then fighting? What you gonna miss about Andrea? After she kept trying to fight you and telling you, she gonna take you out and she a psych patient. Weird shit, man. But then Jocelyn is debating on who the second girl is that's gonna go home, and the episode basically cuts off there. So for this episode, my most valuable cabaret ladies were Lexi, Danny, and Neek. My most valuable newbie was Kaniyah. My least valuable newbie was Sky. And my least valuable cabaret ladies were Des, Erica, and Egypt. Okay, y'all. So that's my Jocelyn's Cabaret California episode 13 review/recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. I'll see y'all later. Bye.